So that's been very difficult. I feel like I'm ostracized, from my mom's side of the family, because my mom is able to pretend that she's perfect, and she's only like this from what I know, she's only been like this with me and all the boyfriends that she has. She's she's kind of run off most of her boyfriends because she just can't handle being intimate, I think. Now I have a lot of intimacy issues too. But that's been difficult. I don't know. I don't always know if there are other people out there that are going through some of the same things I am. I have been listening to, other YouTube channels of people who have had bad childhoods or, have PTSD issues or anxiety issues because of the abuse that they suffered. And, if you're watching this too and you've gone through really bad things, I want you to know that you're not alone. And it's okay to talk about it. You kind of had to find safe people. For me, I've kind of had to rebuild my family. I decided for me that I have had to completely cut off my mother because she has not really changed. She's very good at hiding who she really is. But anyone who gets intimately close to her, especially men, she will abuse them and criticize them to the point where they either leave her or she leaves them. And that's been pretty difficult for me. But I want to encourage people who are going through what I might be going through to get into therapy. I finally found I've tried therapy a few times, but I've finally found a therapist who really, really, really clicks with me. And that's the key. You've got to find someone who really you click with and you can feel safe with. Especially my therapist, she's a woman. I think that helps a lot, and she's also around my age. I think that helps a lot. And she also has a husband who was also very abused badly. And I think she can relate. She sees the complex PTSD in her husband. She sees anxiety issues in her husband. And I think it helps her be more dedicated to help my recovery because she feels like she'll probably have more control, helping her husband to recover too. And so that's the key, is getting into therapy and finding someone that you can really trust and really unload to and not hide anything back. I've also had to, be on medicine. Normally I just take a antidepressant. Right now I'm on Celexa, and I put that with Wellbutrin. And sometimes I take trazodone to help me sleep at night. Especially lately I've been having a lot of panic attacks and anxiety. So it kind of helps me to get at least 6 or 7 hours of sleep. Sometimes I wake up every hour. Sometimes I don't. Last night I didn't, thankfully. And I'm also really, really committed to my recovery this time. I'm actually staying single. That's something I've learned I have to do right now because I have so many intimacy and trust issues. And I am capable of being in a relationship, and I am capable of loving very, very deeply. But sometimes I get really scared and I pull back. I've sabotaged relationships before because the intimacy is just too much for me to handle. And so I'm kind of learning to stay single right now and to love myself. I've been trying to pick up hobbies again. And it gets difficult when you get real depressed to stay on your hobbies, I know that. But you kind of just have to try to push through it. And it's okay if you have a bad day, but just try to make the next day better. I do a lot of jewelry making. I like to sing a lot. I like to listen to music. I like to make music. So those are some of the things I do to kind of just keep my mind off of things. Another thing I started doing is I do a lot of bike riding. And I try to do a lot of walking, especially when I'm having anxiety and panic or depression issues. I try to get out in nature, and something about nature, it just, Mother Nature has been my mother and my true mother. And, there's something healing. There's something healing for me about being out in nature, being out, among, living, growing things, animals. That's very calming for me. And if you are someone who is in a situation like this, I really encourage you to get the help you need. Reach out. Just make that first step and say, hey, I think I need help. I'm struggling on my own. And know that you're not alone. There's other people that have gone through some of the same things, and it's okay. It's okay to need help. It's okay to be overwhelmed, and it's okay to say you need to do these things on your own. I know a very difficult thing for me has been, now that I'm a mother, it really hits home how bad things were in my home, because I could never imagine doing even half, a quarter of the things my mother did to me, to either of my children, because I know from experience now it would ruin them. If you want to ruin your child, the quickest way to do it is treat them like crap. But don't do that. I really encourage people to break the cycle. I don't hit my kids at all. I've tried spanking, and it just does not work for me. It triggers too much. And I've learned that it just makes my child angry. I think I did that a handful of times. I'm like, you know what, I just can't do this. It's not for me. So I've learned other ways to discipline and punish. I do a lot of timeouts. And I also take away privileges. That works actually very, very well. It's not, 9 times out of the 10, within an hour, my child will come down from her room and she'll apologize, and I'll make her reiterate what it was she did wrong, so that she knows. That seems to work very, very well in our home. I also want to encourage people to break the cycle. For me, it was kind of a cycle in, my family that kind of continued a few generations. My grandmother, I don't know the extent, but I know my grandmother was harsh. I don't know how bad the abuse was, but I imagine there was some. Because my mother had to learn this behavior from somewhere. Is my train of thinking. She had to learn it from somewhere. And my grandma was also a very cruel person. And she would always, say really negative things. I can't be around my mother or my grandmother all, because they're just so abusive, negative still. And that's okay to have to do that. It's okay to have to cut your abusers off. And if you're, I want to, this is very sensitive, but I want to, talk to anyone out there who may be abusing your children, who may be, may have issues with controlling your rage. And, I really want to encourage you to stop what you're doing. It will damage your child. It will ruin them for life. And you need to get yourself into some kind of treatment. And if you have to, distance yourself from your child. I remember there were several incidents where my mother tried to, give me over custody to someone else, and it just didn't work out. I always ended up back in her home for one reason or another. And, I encourage people to, reach out, ask for help, and break the cycle. Break the cycle with this generation. Don't continue anymore. Teach your children how to love. Teach them how to parent properly. And, know that you're not alone. If you were abused, know that you're not alone. And it's okay to have bad days. It's okay to suffer. But also I encourage people to get into therapy. And talk about it. The more you talk about it, the more you listen to other people's story, the more you're going to feel less alone. And that's been the big help for me. And I just want to say thank you for listening to my story. If it has helped one person, that's great for me. Hey, you're not alone. And you're going to have bad days, and you're going to have good days. And just, celebrate those good days. So yeah, feel free to share your story. And I want to hear from you, and I want to know if, this has helped you out. And take good care of yourself. Love yourself. Love the people who you love and who love you. Treat them good. Treat everyone with kindness. That's all. Thanks. Bye.